Well, good evening again, people of Dominica. It's me doing my political punditry American style again. People, I brought you the politics of class some time ago. I brought you the politics of lies, deception, and trickery last night. And today I am going to tell you a little bit about the politics of divide and conquer. First, let's define what divide and conquer is. And then let's see how it is manifested in Dominica's politics today. A divide and conquer strategy, also known as the divide and rule strategy, is often applied in arenas of politics and sociology. In this strategy, one power breaks another power into smaller, more manageable pieces and then takes control of those pieces one by one. It generally takes a strong power to implement such a strategy. In order to successfully break up another power or government, the conqueror must have access to strong political, military, and economic machines. Furthermore, in order to maintain power and influence, large governments will often work to keep smaller powers and governments from uniting. In fact, this use of the principles within the divide and conquer strategy is most common. It is much easier to prevent small powers from linking forces to break them apart once they have them aligned. Leaders who use this divide and conquer strategy may encourage or foster feuds between small powers. This kind of political maneuvering requires a great understanding of the people who are being manipulated. In order to foster feuds, for example, one must understand the political and social histories of the parties intended to take part in the feuds. The strategy also includes methods with which to control the funds and the resources of small conquered parties. For example, a powerful leader may encourage a less powerful leader to make unwise financial decisions in order to drain the smaller power's resources. Think about that, people. Think about that. This is often successful if the leaders of the smaller powers have inflated egos and delusions of grandeur. Inflated egos and delusions of grandeur. It is important to note that this form is only effective if the smaller power allows itself to be influenced by the larger power, as we see in the case of Dominica and China. China, the larger power, Dominica with a leader like Skerrit, who has an inflated ego and delusions of grandeur. The divide and conquer strategy has been widely used throughout history. Both the Roman Empire and the British Empire played small tribes and groups against each other in order to control their land and their territories. It was used by the Romans when they took Britain, when the British Empire took India, and when the Anglo-Normans took Ireland. A staple political strategy, divide and conquer, is still used in many countries today, i.e. Dominica. In simple and blunt terms, people, divide and conquer is that in order to rule securely, don't allow alliances of your enemies. Don't allow alliances of your enemies. Keep them at the throats of each other, because if they come together and reason logically with each other, you might just be over. People, this divide and conquer practice is not only applicable to big countries, big governments versus like China versus small countries like Dominica with a leader who has an inflated ego and vast, great, humongous delusions of grandeur. It does apply to politicians using that strategy to conquer, as we have seen in Dominica, since the Skerrit-led Labour Party got into power in Dominica more than a decade ago. They have diabolically pitted mother against daughter, brother against sister, and sister against brother, cousins fighting cousins, wife against husband, husband against wives. They have destroyed families and friendships to a magnitude we have never seen in Dominica before. They talk about their Labour family, people. They talk about the Labour family. So UWP is talking about Team Dominica. So Labour Party came up with the idea of the Labour family. Does Jim Jones ring a bell? But they have no concern about the real families they destroy to form their Labour cult. On the contrary, they take much pride in it. They take much pride in destroying families. They use the discord that they sow among families as a weapon against other family members who refuse to join the cult. But to those family members who have allowed and continue to allow Skerrit and that Labour Party to destroy your families, I have a word of caution for you. Love cannot be found where it does not exist. Read my lips, people. Love cannot be found where it does not exist. Now in Dominica, everybody vexed with somebody because of Skerrit and the Labour Party. Everybody giving people mepui, people who used to be friends before are enemies now, simply because people refuse to join the Labour cult because they know better. Because they know better. They refuse to join the Labour cult, so they have become enemies of so many people just by exercising their right to their freedom of thought and their freedom of speech. They have made enemies, many enemies. I have so many enemies in Dominica now. I mean, people who do not know me, people I do not know, people I had absolutely no problems with at all, just because I have been one of the very vocal speakers, speaking up for my country. I have made a lot of enemies. But you know what? When you make those kind of enemies, just think that you were doing something right. And that is how I see it. People, Dominicans, Dominicans, Dominicans. You know, I come from La Plaine. I come from La Plaine, where we were like one family. I mean, during election, there was Freedom Party and there was Labour Party. Before, everybody would get heated and hot and, you know, supporting their party and everything. But after the election, everybody came back together and worked for the benefit of their communities and for the benefit of their country. But what this Labour Party has done in Dominica, oh my God, they have poisoned the waters. They have created so much chaos and so much hatred and so much division in this country. I'm telling you, people, you know, I sometimes, you know, try to be humorous about it, but I'm telling you, it is painful for me to watch. It is really painful for me to watch what Dominica has become. I remember when I used to be in the village council in La Plaine, Naughty Esley Seja was the clerk of the village council. We had Freedomites on the village council, Christabel Fountain, Jamel Telemother High. She was a Freedomite. I never supported Freedom. I supported Labour at one point and UWP at one point. And we worked together. We worked together. Charles Lawrence, you know, Charles Lawrence, I have a lot of respect for him, and he has a lot of respect for me too. And Charles will tell you, Shirley, well, as he tells me all the time, Shirley, I love you. I will never forget. You taught me a great lesson. You taught me a great lesson when I served on the council with you, that you do not have to like somebody. You do not have to like somebody to work with that person. You do not always have to disagree with that. You do not always have to agree with that person. And even if that person disagrees with you, you work with that person. And I'm so proud. I feel so good that I left that lesson with Charles. And I think if anybody else wants to be honest about me and how I worked in La Plaine, they will say the same. I served my community, even if I know there were people who did not like me, because I am always me, even if for who I am, who did not like me for my political views and my political whatever, but I was still able to work with them. Even Peter Sanger. Peter Sanger was a teacher in the La Plaine Jones Bopier School, and I was the president of the PTA for a long time. We had a lot of disagreements, but we worked together. This is no more. This is no more. People, Dominican people, I sincerely hope that after all this is over, you have not allowed the damage done to your relationships to be irreparable. But because after Scarrett is gone, he will not be taking his personal wealth, the wealth that he acquired mostly illegally at your expense and the expense of your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. He will not be using that wealth to give you no more SIWO and this care and that care and the other care. He will hold that wealth to himself and his family. Scarrett will not be opening a red clinic in his mansion for you guys. You will have to creep back to the families and the friends that you are now vexed with because of Scarrett for help. when and if you need it. Scared will not even remember your names. He will not even remember your names. And guess what, people? While you were there getting vexed with each other for Scarrett and the Labour Party, Scarrett and the Labour Party are selling out your country. They are selling out your country while you are getting vexed with each other and at the throats of each other. And you are destroying, Scarrett and them are destroying the future of your children. But you are so busy, at each other's throat for Scarrett and the Labour Party to notice what is happening under your noses. And this is the politics of divide and conquer. This is how it works, people. This is how it works. So people, I beg you again, be wise. Be wise. Use your head. You see this head there? There's something called brains in it. And it was given to you for a purpose. To use. So use it. Use it wisely.